Hey guys, how you doing today? Just got home from picking up something. Oh wow, that sun's bright today. I'll take it. Here, I'm gonna turn this way just a little bit so you get a little bit of light on my face, but I'm not staring right at it. You can tell I got a day off today, eh? Because all the beautiful hair. Boy, do I ever need a haircut, but we're all locked down. Not really a thing. I should look around a little bit harder. I bet you I could find a hairstylist to do something with this monstrosity that you're seeing in front of you. we all have to sacrifice something, and during these trying times, and what I'm clearly sacrificing is my personal appearance. I'd straight up like to start this video by saying I've got one person who donated to me through my Patreon. Well, bless you. I won't out you, but thank you so much. I value and appreciate that. You know who you are, and I know who you are. So thank you so much. I know it seems like nothing, just like a dollar my way, but boy, does that ever lift my spirits, I lost some subscribers over the last couple of days, which I expected. I had a big influx recently, and it makes sense that some people would bow out after they find out that, this isn't a channel specifically about what they're interested in, or maybe they find out that I'm just kind of a goofy idiot, well, which is totally fine. But thank you for supporting. Thank you for being here, guys, and thank you for your comments. Thank you for your birthday wishes. Thanks for all of that. The thing I'd really like to talk about today is this unfolding nonsense that's going on in the United States. Not specifically about the storming of the Capitol, because I think that is actually being well trod. I think that the people who are speaking about it are speaking about it with poignancy. The only people who are being nefarious during all this are the people who are trying to pretend like these protesters are Antifa. That's your Tucker Carlsons, that's your Fox News, like the standard villains, right? Like nothing like that. But if you want to see like good commentary on what's going on for that, I highly recommend Jimmy Dore's stuff. I highly recommend The Hill, Crystal Ball, and Sagar. Both those sources are doing really, really good work. Covering what's happening and really making it very clear that what is happening is unacceptable and that something must be done about it, which in my view is like not even a political position, right? Like there must be a full-scale investigation, and it doesn't matter where you stand on the political spectrum. Like if you don't think that that's the case, then you are outside of politics. Like you are outside of what I would consider reason or rational thinking. Like you're in the same space as like Holocaust deniers and climate change deniers. Like you're living in some kind of fairy tale land if you don't think there needs to be a full-scale investigation on what happened on the lead up to and the conclusion of this insurrection on the Capitol Hill. The thing I really do want to talk about, though, and because this has actually gotten kind of swept under the rug because of what happened on the 6th, which is that Georgia held its Senate elections, and the Democrats won. Now, it's just a couple of seats, and it seems like such a small thing, but it actually has pretty massive ramifications throughout the United States electoral system, right? Now that the Democrats have swung those few seats their way in the Senate, it means that they now hold the Senate, okay? So this means that just like the first 2 years of the Obama presidency, Joe Biden, the Democrats hold the White House, they hold the House, and they hold the Senate. This gives this party a massive amount of power. And it's going to be, and I've heard it said by plenty of sources, and I think it's completely accurate, it's going to be completely revealing about who the Democrats are. Because now, if laws are not being passed, if they're not doing stuff to help their constituents or the people of America or any of this kind of stuff, if they're not actually doing something, they can't blame the Republicans. They can't actually play this game of petty politics that happens all the time in American politics, where they're like, oh, we, the Democrats, would love to help and love to vote this way, and maybe they do actually even vote this way, but they know the Republicans are going to block it, and they know the Republicans are going to get in the way, so they can just blame the Republicans, right? They can just say, oh, the Republicans, well, what are you going to do? That's out the window now. That's completely gone. Now, if legislation is not being put forward, if legislation is not being passed, if something is not actually happening, it is because the Democrats don't want it to happen, period. And there's no other argument to make. They can't actually, every argument they put forward to say why they can't actually do something is A, a lie at worst, but B, an excuse at best. They absolutely have the power. They absolutely have the ability. It comes down to their political will, and the only legitimate reason, and it's not really a legitimate reason, but the only actual reason that they have for not actually doing something at this stage in the game is because their corporate donors don't want them to. And this is going to be a pretty massive and important moment in American history, right? Like, they're going to have 2 years. And what I expect we're going to see, right? What I suspect we're going to see is we're going to see a lot of waffling. We're going to see a lot of going back and forth, a lot of time wasting is what we're going to see, which is exactly what we saw during the first 2 years of the Obama presidency, right? A lot of claiming that, oh, well, we can't actually just push legislation through because we need to reach across the aisle, right? We need to work with the Republicans who are now in a minority position and have no power, right? Like, we have to actually waste all of this time instead of passing legislation to actually help people. And what is going to happen, right, is that the Democrats are going to waste 2 years of time passing ineffectual, meaningless legislation, maybe they'll get that $2,000 check out to everybody, that one-time $2,000 check out to everybody. But outside of that, it's just going to be waffling, meaningless legislation that doesn't actually doesn't actually help the lives of people. And this is actually dangerous, because if they don't actually attempt to help the lives of people, if they don't actually go out of their way to actually assist or do anything to help anyone, right? They're going to open the door up for a more effective fascist, right? Like Donald Trump. The reason Donald Trump was in power was because Obama had 8 years to actually try and help someone, actually try and fix things, right? And failed completely, right? He failed totally. He ran on a platform of hope and change, right? He ran on a platform of helping Americans, and he did fucking nothing. Like, he passed a healthcare bill that ended up being a big handout to the pharmaceutical companies. And so if the Democrats now, with their majority status, where they don't need to ask the Republicans for permission, they don't need to talk to the Republicans, if they don't use that to actually improve the lives of their citizenry instead of what they've been doing, which has been ignoring and abandoning them, if they don't actually do something about that, then the door is going to open for a more effective fascist. Right? Because Donald Trump wasn't actually a fascist. He just became popular with fascists. And he was just willing to go where the popularity was. Right? But there are plenty of fascists within the Republican Party who are going to glom on to that base, that rabid base of support. Like 70 million people voted for Donald Trump. Like, those people will transfer over to a young, handsome, well-spoken fascist, because fascism is popular. It's obviously popular, right? The right is better organized. They're better funded. They're able to mobilize people quicker, right? Obviously, these things are obvious. And if the left doesn't do something to actually improve the lives, like objectively improve the lives of their citizenry, to deal with climate change, to deal with healthcare, to deal with these significant and serious issues. Homelessness, evictions, poverty. Like, if they don't do something serious to actually address these issues, then in 4 years' time, we are going to be seeing America elect a true fascist. Like, not a waffling clown, but like a serious fascist who is going to do significant damage to America. And what's that mean for here in Canada, right? Well, we've got the same dynamic going on here in Canada, right? The Liberals are doing nothing to help anyone. They're sitting on their hands. The things that they are doing are simpering and insignificant. And what's the right doing? What are the Conservatives doing? They're picking up the Trump playbook. That's what they're doing. They're starting to talk the way that Trump talked. They're starting to play that game because it's effective and it works. Because at the end of the day, the thing that Trump proved above all is that fascism is popular. Fascism is popular. I hope these birds aren't driving you crazy. They're very loud and aggressive, eh? I usually do these late at night, and so I don't really get the birds this often. But these birds are something, eh? They're really going to town. Just watch on the recording, they're almost like nothing, and I'm talking about this, and you guys are just like, oh, they're birds, I guess. And so we're at a dangerous and precarious point, not only in American politics, but in Canadian politics. Because the reality is, and I've said it over and over again, like, if the Liberals actually wanted to crush the Conservatives, instead of working with them as the allies that they are, they would actually do something to alleviate the pain and suffering that's occurring in Alberta, right? And I'm going to say this until the Albertans start to put two and two together and realize that the Conservatives and the Liberals work together, right? The Liberals are not extending any benefits or help to the Albertans as the fossil fuel industry collapses, as it must, as it will, as it definitely has to. Like, just forget about the survival issue. Just the oil runs out. Like, the oil runs out, guys. Like, those jobs go away just by the course of how things work. And if the Liberals don't... and the Liberals aren't extending anything to actually help these Albertans. Just like what happened in the Maritimes with the collapse of the fisheries, right? No politician actually extended anything to actually help these people and force them to relocate, force them into poverty, force them into a terrible position. Didn't actually do anything to help them out because they don't care, right? And if you say, well, I'm going to vote Conservative then, or if they're Conservative and you're like, oh, I'm going to vote Liberal, they're fine with that. They're fine with that. They all work together, right? The current sitting Liberal or Conservative will just become a consultant in a firm, right? And then maybe turn around and like run again or run someone else. Like, you can watch it happen. Like, once you're up in this political echelon and you're working with the corporate interests, right, you're well protected. If you're in power, you're passing legislation for these corporations to help them out. And if you are out of power, you work for the corporations. So you're well taken care of no matter what. This is why neoliberalism ultimately is a failure. And that modern-day capitalism, and capitalism generally, is a failure. And we need to be saying that. We need to be calling that out, that capitalism is a failure. It's not that we're in a moment. It's not that we are experiencing some kind of special thing. Capitalism itself is structured to fail, and it has failed, and it is going to continue to fail. And anytime anybody says, oh, well, you could thank capitalism for X, Y, and Z, I literally say, no, I thank workers for that. Capitalists steal our productivity for themselves and jam it into offshore accounts. What are you talking about? And the reality is that, like, the capitalists are illiterate, and they don't actually know anything about what's going on in the world, and the people who defend them are even worse. Like, the people who were storming the Capitol, these Donald Trump supporters, they're QAnon, right? They're the definition of illiterate. They don't know what's happening. And we're not doing anything to help them, and so they don't see us as legitimate, which is correct, right? Anyway, this is the end of this video. Like, share, subscribe, send it around. Really, like, we have to start organizing. We have to start at least saying to one another, like, hey, we need to help one another. We need to stop looking at our neighbor as an enemy, and we need to start saying, like, hey, you need help, and we're gonna help you. Oh my goodness. My Patreon's down below. Give me some money. I don't know. Say hi to your neighbors. Good luck. We're gonna need it.